Erik Ten Hag's preseason with Manchester United has been a mixed bag, reflecting both the challenges and the potential of his tactical approach. The Red Devils have experienced highs and lows with victories over Rangers and Real Betis counterbalanced by the losses to Rosenborg and Arsenal. Ten Hag's emphasis on high pressing, quick ball movements and positional flexibility is beginning to take shape, offering a preview in what Manchester United might be able to produce in the upcoming season. Here is how you can successfully go ahead and recreate Ten Hag's preseason tactics in FC24. During his time at Manchester United, Erik Ten Hag has often used the 4-2-3-1 system and shape. Now, during this preseason, we have seen a slight alteration to it. Of course, still deploying his side in a 4-2-3-1. But when they aggressively press high up the field in order to try and win the ball back, they've more or less implemented a 3-3-4 system, meaning that there will be 4 attacking players higher up the field looking to try and win the ball back. So now moving on to the Manchester United tactical approach under Erik Ten Hag through the first 4 games of their pre-season. Now I would say that it does align very nicely with the tactical vision being set to wing play. Now at times you might see one of the wingers or one of the fullbacks on the touchlines looking to try and operate and try and stretch the game on a horizontal plane, looking to try and generate as much space in those central areas for either the wingers or the midfielders or even the strikers to try and work with and work into. The defense and the defensive style, which will change depending on the way you're trying to press, but for the balanced approach, it will be set to pressure on heavy touch. You do want this to occur as your front line will aggressively press higher up the field, looking to press and probe and maybe cause a mistake or two in the opposition's backline with their builder play, which might be able to lead to a counter-attacking opportunity or just an attacking chance created, whilst the rest of the team looks to regroup into its natural structure and formation, making it very difficult, especially if that first line of the press is beaten, for the opposition to go and exploit your midfield and of course your defensive areas of the pitch. As for the team's width, I have set this to 75, and this does go hand in hand with that aggressive pressing nature that we will be looking for with the side. And we have seen countless times of Manchester United winning the ball back nice and high up the field. We saw it versus Arsenal, a very good ball-playing side that can play from the back on a regular basis. We saw it with the likes of Villarreal the other night when they won 3-2. Countless times Villarreal would try and build up their play, and you would see this man-to-man system, this pressing structure implemented, and that would win the ball back nice and high up the pitch. And even versus Rosenborg and against Rangers. Now, for the team's depth, I have set this to 70, and this will increase again depending on the pressing style and structure. But for the time being, it is going to be on the border of what you might consider a high mid block versus a high line. But I've gone with the slightly higher line just to implement that good aggressive pressing style and structure. For the offensive approach for the Red Devils, the build-up play should be set to maintaining a balanced approach. Now, this will incorporate the slow build-up, the fast build-up, as well as the long ball approach. We have seen the likes of Andre Onana launch those balls further forward into the more physical number 9, and of course we only saw that really for like, what was it, 15 minutes versus Arsenal with the likes of Rasmus Højlund getting injured. But in that time, he was posing as a physical threat, having that outlet ball higher up the pitch, being a good target man, you could say, with trying to pin the centre backs. And that is something that you will see with Erik Ten Hag's team and the way that they are looking to play this season. And that is why against the likes of, who was it? It was a Real Betis. We saw the likes of Scott McTominay and Jadon Sancho starting up front, because Scott McTominay was the physical force to try and pin the centre-backs in certain moments. Now, of course, we have seen Erik Ten Hag's players look to try and work the transitions a lot more, have the wingers running behind the likes of Rashford, maybe not so much Amad Diallo, but more so Rashford and even Garnacho last season, where they look to try and run in behind, look to exploit the space. But so far this season, we've seen some good, solid build-up play with the slower build-ups, looking to build out from the back, looking to progress the ball further forward. And speaking of progressing the ball further forward, the chance creation should be set to forward runs. Ten Hag does want to try and flood the opposition's final third area, or your final third area, the opposition's defense, with counters, passing options, counters bodies, counters attacking players to get into the box and try and swarm and outdo the opposition in their own third. The width should be set to 80. Now, this will create a good stretch, whether it's the fullbacks or the wingers looking to do so on the touchlines, and you will see quite a lot of space generated for the likes of a Mason Mount, a Toby Collier, or even a Casemiro in those central zones. The players in the box should be set to 6, allowing for at least 3 players to be in and around the attacking zone, while still maintaining around 3 to 4 players on the edge of the area if you do need to rotate the ball sufficiently. The corners and the free kicks should be set to 4. Moving on now to the individual player roles and instructions, starting off at the back with the goalkeeper in Andre Onana, who will be set to maintaining a balanced approach for saving on crosses. You might see him be super aggressive in certain moments, claim the aerial balls, punch the ball for those immediate clearances, or alternatively, he can choose to also stay on his line and have the 2 centre-backs or whoever is in the box deal with the aerial threats. One key element that is a necessity and a requirement for this Ten Hag side is you do need the goalkeeper to be set to playing as a sweeper keeper. That is something that you must have, especially with your high line. implement it, you do need a goalkeeper that is ready to be off of his line, and that is something that Onana does on a regular basis. Not to mention the fact that he is a very good, adequate ball-playing goalkeeper that can play those shorter balls either into the two centre-backs or the two defensive midfielders, or he is very talented at being able to launch those longer balls further forward and finding his targets in mind that he needs to try and hit, whether it's a Rasmus Højlund, a Rashford on the wing. He's very good at launching those longer balls further forward with a lot of accuracy. The two centre-backs in Harry Maguire and Euro, and now I do know that Euro did get injured after just, 30 minutes versus Arsenal, but for the time being, what I noted was his role is very reserved. He looks to try and sweep up just in behind the other centre-back who might be a bit more of the aggressor, which is exactly why, for his instructions, I have set this to conservative interceptions, whereas the likes of Harry Maguire will be set to the base set of instructions, but maybe if you have the likes of Martinez involved, you might be able to set him to step up. But for the time being, Maguire is set to the base set of instructions, and both are fairly decent at being able to play from the back, being able to play under pressure, being able to find those longer passes further forward, or just those shorter passes into the midfield zones. The two fullbacks of Ogonai as well as Harry Mass do have very similar roles, with the likes of Harry Mass being allowed to attack a bit more down the left-hand side, and you have seen quite a good amount of combination play between him and, of course, Marcus Rashford. So he'll be set to join the attack, looking to patrol up and down that left-hand space, as well as the run type will be set to mixed. Now, this will allow him to either invert into the midfield or overlap the left winger and attack down that wider left channel. Both of the fullbacks will be set to step up, and as you'll see here for the likes of Ogonai, the only tweak and change that I have made is having a balanced attacking run, or a support run, I should say. Because at times we have seen Erik Ten Hag does like to have at least 3 players in that backline area. Now that could be a Casemiro, that could be a Harry Mass, or that could be the right back in Aaron Wan-Bissaka or a Ogonai, or whoever is playing and deployed as that right back. And more or less a balanced approach will allow him to stay back a bit more and maybe balance out his attacking and defensive duties. Onto the double pivot consisting of Toby Collier as well as Casemiro. Now, both will be set to maintaining the cut pass lanes approach, looking to have that very solid, good zonal approach, trying to break up the play and intercept the passing lanes, making sure that they are trying to disturb the offensive rhythm trying to be generated in the midfield zones by the opposition players. Both of them will also be set to maintaining a balanced attacking support, allowing the one to get forward and the other one to stay back, and you will see them working very nicely in tandem with who attacks and who stays back. Now, more so, it will be the likes of Toby Collier that does attack a bit more because he's more naturally gifted in that manner. But we have also seen the likes of Casemiro do the same thing, on the odd occasion getting forward and looking to attack, looking to launch those balls further forward. The interceptions will be set to normal for Toby Collier, whereas the likes of Casemiro will be set to aggressive. You want to still have that aggressive mentality. And I will also say this, Toby Collier could easily also be set to aggressive interceptions, but because with FC24, if you have both set to aggressive, you do tend to expose your midfield at times. So you do need at least one player to have a normal set of interceptions applied. Now, the likes of Toby Collier, I have set him to the deep line playmaker. Now, essentially with Ten Hag, he does like either or of Collier or Casemiro, dropping into that half space, collecting the ball in that first phase build-up play, and looking to progress it further forward into either the midfield or further forward into the forward line. Now, both of them will be set to cover the wing, as you do want them having that good approach with trying to drift along the back line or the back four, looking to try and sweep up and protect as best as possible. Whereas the likes of Casemiro will also be set to cover the wing, but for the attacking areas of the field, you want him to be able to drift wide. He has tended to drift into that wider right space, not fully onto the wing, that will be the likes of Amad Diallo, but he does tend to drift slightly wider of the central areas and look to try and attack. Mason Mount has looked absolutely outstanding so far in the preseason tour, and he will be set to come back on defense, always looking to track back, always looking to try and show his insane work rates and his ability to work off the ball, whilst also looking to drop into those deeper spaces, just like what Bruno Fernandes does, and get on the ball and try and help facilitate the offensive rotations and movements in those slightly deeper areas of the field. The support on crosses will be set to maintaining a balanced approach. You want Mason Mount in the box at certain moments, or alternatively, because he will be one of your chief creators in the side, you want him to also be on the edge of the area looking to try and help facilitate the offensive movements. The positioning freedom of Mason Mount should be set to free roam, as you do want him operating in the half spaces, looking to try and attack the space that is not occupied by the striker. As for the interceptions, it should be set to aggressive, and this will help lend itself to the aggressive pressing structure that we have seen with Manchester United so far. The instructions for Marcus Rashford have changed substantially compared to what we did last season with him. Now, for the defensive support, he will be set to come back on defense, and quite often, when out of possession of the ball, we have seen a lot of desire to try and track back and win the ball back and help assist the likes of Harry Mass down that left space. The chance creation paired up with the support runs will both be set to balanced, Now, the balanced width does allow the likes of Rashford to, attack either the inside areas, attacking the half spaces, or play as a more natural wide player and trying to attack from those wider areas of the field. Now, we will see a good, partnership, I guess, between Harry Mass and Rashford, especially during the preseason, where the one will attack the wider area and the other one will invert. And that is exactly what you are trying to create with both of these instructions for both Mass as well as Rashford. Now, the support runs is set to balance as, of course, Rashford is very quick, he's very pacey, he can use his pace to get in behind and exploit the opposition. But so far this preseason, we have also seen solid link-up elements in that wider left space, where he can choose to back into the opposition defensive player, hold up the ball and link up either with a Toby Collier or a Mason Mount or even a Harry Mass looking to invert or overlap the left winger. As for the interceptions, it will be set to aggressive, as like I said earlier, we have seen a lot more desire, a lot more concentration with the pressing from Rashford, where he does look to win the ball back as quickly and as aggressively as possible. The support on crosses should be set to balance, as Rashford isn't only focused on just trying to get into the box and get off shots, he is looking to try and add playmaking elements to his game, and we have seen that in abundance so far this preseason. Now, the man that has probably been the player of the preseason so far is this man right here, Amad Diallo. Now, he'll be set to come back on defense, and he's always had a very good work rate to him, and you do tend to see him tracking back. And I think versus Arsenal, he tracked all the way back into the box, and he just intercepted the ball just before I think it was a Jesus could have popped off the shot and maybe even scored the goal. So he does tend to track back quite a bit. But what I have seen from Amad Diallo is he does like to not solely operate in that wider right space. He can look to come inside. He has said that he has played as a number 10 before, and he's quite comfortable in the central areas, and we can see with his tight dribbling, his good on-the-ball actions, that he can do so in those central areas. So you want him to have that free roaming role paired up with a balanced support run. This will allow him to either break in behind, come inside, come short, show for the passes in those interior zones, and link up very nicely with the likes of a Mason Mount. The interceptions will be set to aggressive, and he will be set to stay on the edge of the box. Yes, we have seen Amad in the box at times, but more so you see him operate in his best position on the edge of the area, looking to try and help facilitate the offense from that wider right space. Now onto the number 9, and I do know and understand Højlund only played 15 minutes in preseason, but in those 15 minutes, Manchester United looked absolutely insane. So for his role and instructions going forward, he will be set to drift wide. We have said this before, he does tend to operate very nicely in the wider channels, especially when the likes of a Diallo or a Rashford or a Sancho drop quite deep, opening up that left or that right space, looking for him to drift into himself. But also, he's very good at being able to pin the opposition defender, looking to back into them, link up the play very effectively. Now, this paired up with the forward runs will also encourage Højlund to break in behind on a consistent basis, looking to try and use his speed to the team's advantage. The interceptions will be set to aggressive, and then finally, he will be set to maintaining a basic defensive support. Now, when Erik Ten Hag's side are looking to press super aggressively when out of possession of the ball, looking to press high up the field with the opposition goalkeeper restarts, they tend to set up in a 3-3-4 press, looking to have a man-to-man system marking the individual players in the opposition's backline, making sure that the opposition are forced to either play long or alternatively, they have to be very good and very tight with the ball in their defensive third, looking to try and play out from the back. And this will more or less prevent the opposition from doing so unless they want to be pressed very aggressively and potentially risk losing the ball. As for the tactics for this aggressive pressing structure, everything will be the same apart from the defensive style and the depth. The depth will be set to a slightly higher depth of 80, looking to try and press a bit higher up the field, as well as the defensive style will be set to pressing after possession loss. You want to encourage that aggressive nature. You want to encourage the likes of a Mason Mount, the likes of a Højlund, Rashford, and Amad Diallo to press very aggressively, especially when possession is lost or when looking to regain possession for the side. But otherwise, everything else will be set to the same. Now onto the individual player roles and instructions, and a lot of these players will have very similar instructions. As you'll see here for Højlund, he's got the same role and instructions. The same can be said for Marcus Rashford, as well as the same can be said for Amad Diallo. Come back on defense, free roam, balance supports, aggressive interceptions, and stay on the edge of the box. But the likes of Mason Mount will have a slightly different role. Of course, you do want him pressing nice and high up the field. You do want him more or less in that front line for that press. So for the defensive support, you don't want him to consistently drop back. Otherwise, he does tend to drop too deep, and that kind of breaks the defensive structure at times. So a basic defensive support, which will allow him at times to do so and drop quite deep and help support in those defensive areas or stay forward, does tend to get the desired results. The positioning freedom will be set to free roam and of course aggressive interceptions. Now we do tend to see quite a few changes now occur in the midfield. As you can see, Harry Maas is deployed as a left midfielder, Toby Collier is deployed centrally, and Casemiro is deployed as the right central midfielder. Now for Casemiro, he will be set to drop between the defenders, as you do tend to see Collier get forward and Casemiro drop quite deep at times, but you also see Casemiro operating in that slightly right area of the central midfield. So that is why we have positioned him in this position, as well as having him drop between the defenders. Because when in possession, you do tend to see Casemiro getting forward, yes, but you also tend to see Casemiro in those slightly deeper areas and anticipating any potential turnovers, where he can look to intercept the play and break it up as efficiently as possible. The support runs will be set to stay on the edge of the box, as well as have aggressive interceptions, of course, and then cover the center and stick to position. For the defensive positioning, you want him to cover those central areas as best as possible, having likes of Ogunai as well as Diallo try and track back in that wider right area. For Toby Collier, he'll be set to maintaining a balanced attacking support, looking for him to be a very good box-to-box player. In certain moments, staying on the edge of the box will be required, as well as maintain aggressive interceptions. This is all about pressing and pressing high and pressing aggressively, looking to try and turn the ball over. So you do need your central midfielders to be as aggressive and imposing as possible. Just like with Casemiro, he will also be set and instructed to cover the central zones for the defense, and then the positioning freedom when in possession of the ball, he'll look to vacate that central area and drift into those slightly wider channels and link up the play, in those wider areas of the field. Now, Harry Maas is a left back deployed in the midfield for this system and structure, which we have seen so far in the preseason, especially when they are trying to press and go in that man-to-man system. But I think that a Maas, Luke Shaw, and even Diego Dalot could fulfill this role, whether it's on the left or the right-hand side. We might be able to see something like this in the season, I should say, when the season eventually starts and the full team is intact. Now, for Harry Maas, you want him to stay back while attacking. Yes, he can get forward, and you do tend to see him operating slightly higher at times, but you want him to stay back while attacking, as well as stay on the edge of the box and have normal interceptions, because he will look to cover the wing on the defensive positioning, looking to drift wide, looking to try and help take up that more natural left back role, as well as when in possession of the ball, he will look to attack those wider spaces of the field. Now, he does operate centrally, don't get me wrong, but he will also look to drift slightly wider into those wider left spaces and help the likes of Rashford attack that left-hand side. Now, onto your defensive line and your three centre-backs, or I should say your two centre-backs in Euro and Maguire, and your right-back in Ogunai, or it could be Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who is a right-back. This is still a right-back position, but he is deployed more or less looking like a centre-back. Now, you want him to be set to having a balanced role for both the attacking runs as well as the run type, because every now and then you might want and require the right-back to get high up the field and attack and help support or lend a helping hand in the attacks down that wider right space. And of course, just like with before, you want him to be able to step up. Now, with the likes of Euro, I've made no changes. He'll still be set to conservative interceptions, whereas the likes of Harry Maguire, his role does slightly change. He'll be set to overlap, and we have seen Harry Maguire operating in that slightly wider left space, looking to try and cover those areas as best as possible, or even be an outlet ball down that left side, but then looking to launch the longer ball further forward into the forward line. And then, of course, as for the likes of Andre Onana, he will be set to the same set of instructions. And there you go, people. That is how I would successfully go ahead and replicate and implement Erik Ten Hag's preseason Manchester United tactics. You could say he may have been influenced by a Ruud van Nistelrooy, especially with that aggressive pressing structure that we have seen. Now, I do know that that has been an element of the past that Ten Hag has been looking to implement, but I am seeing a few tweaks and variations to his tactics from last season that could prove to be a stroke of genius from whether it's Ten Hag or Ruud van Nistelrooy or whoever. And it is tending to work quite nicely, especially once the team gets into the swing of how things are supposed to be. So yes, if you guys don't mind, please don't forget to smash that like button down below. It does help the channel out quite a bit. And we are trying to get to 10,000. Yes, that's right, 10,000 subscribers. So that would be great. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, or at least consider it, please. As well as if you have a Discord, don't forget to join the Discord. The link will be down below in the description. But we are going to hop on into a game where we will discuss these tactics in full effect. Okay, people. Manchester United versus Real Betis. I could have played Liverpool, but I decided Real Betis was probably the better option if we are looking to fully display the attacking prowess of the side, as well as the aggressive pressing nature. So yes. Anyways, we are going to start off the game in a 4-2-3-1, but we will be chopping and changing between the aggressive pressing style and structure, and of course, the natural back four system. So, off the bat, we've turned the ball over thanks to Casemiro. But he's also won it back. doing his due diligence in winning the ball back. Rasmus Højlund, though, he's got the ball. He's driving at the opposition. Lays it off into Mason Mount, who will look to attack the space, and he's done so beautifully. He's just going to slot it past the goalkeeper right then and there. 7 minutes in, 1-0 to Man United. Thank you very much, Rasmus Højlund, combining perfectly with Mason Mount. Okay, well, we've got an early goal. We've got an early lead, and we need to build on that. We need to score a few more goals, please. We've done so brilliantly. Rasmus Højlund winning the ball back perfectly into Amad Diallo, who will look to switch the play into Marcus Rashford. The ball is dealt with. Toby Collier is there to recover it, and it may have been offside because I think Rashford was offside, although Mason Mount has turned the ball over in our favor. Mason Mount on the ball back into Casemiro. What can Casemiro do? He's driving. He's found a great pass, and it could have been something special, although Silva is there to claim the aerial threat. And Amad Diallo, he's said, I'm taking full advantage of my free roaming role. Great ball. Line breaking pass, actually. Beautifully done. Amad Diallo looking to combine with the right back, who is looking to break into the space. He's done so beautifully. Casemiro's in the box, by the way. I don't know why Casemiro's in the box. And also, Gunai, you need to be better, bro. You really do need to be better. Of course, I'm not using Aaron Wan-Bissaka because he is heavily linked with a move to West Ham. And it's looking like that deal's going to get done sometime soon. So I just decided, let's transfer Aaron Wan-Bissaka to West Ham in my game, and therefore I don't have the use of him just yet or anymore. Anyways, we've won the ball back. Of course, we are always winning the ball back. This is a possession press-heavy side. We turn the ball over because it's a bad pass from big man Amad Diallo, and we have forced an error at the back with some aggressive pressing from both Rasmus Højlund and Casemiro. Back into Harry Maas. What can Harry Maas do? He is obviously the better talent between him and Gunai, and Rasmus Højlund, just as he's about to pull the trigger, gets the ball taken off of his toe. Gosh! There we go. Harry Maguire looking to cover for Harry Maas. Bullies his man off the ball, and Lenny Yoro plays it into Casemiro, who is looking to patrol in this slightly wider right space. Like I mentioned, he's not going to be a right winger. By no stretch of the imagination will he do that. Good ball over the top, possibly. And it's just dealt with quickly. And we're pressing. We are actually going to implement this press now. 28 minutes in, we've settled into the game. We are going to look to aggressively press the opposition. Into Toby Collier. Toby Collier is looking for more support. Harry Maas, you need to operate slightly higher. Although Harry Maas has done a great job, he just doesn't get enough power on the ball. I think it may have even been blocked by Hector Bellerin. But again, you want him attacking those little half space areas. Lenny Yoro almost wins the aerial duel. Almost, I say. But Harry Maguire looking to try and cover here. Back post area, and of course, there we go. Little defensive header, and that will be half-time. 1-0, still in favor of us. We do need to try and make sure we aren't caught out with any loose ball touches or any, terrible turnovers. It could be bad if we do that. But so far, Mason Mount has been splendid, spectacular. We haven't really seen a lot of Rashford, which we will try and do in the second half. So at the break, we have got 58% possession compared to just 42% for Real Betis. We've done a very good job limiting them to only one shot attempt. We've had 2, and our expected goals is double theirs. We've got more passes, we've put in more tackles, and we have intercepted the ball 1 extra time, which isn't too bad. Our pass accuracy does need to improve. 87% is not good enough. The shot accuracy is quite decent, but we might need to try and produce a few more shots, as well as the dribble success rate is acceptable. If we take a look at our possession at the break, a lot of it has been maintained in that central area or just slightly right of that central area. So we do need to get the left-hand side a bit more involved, maybe Rashford getting a touch or 2 more in the second half. But I can't really complain. If you have a look at their heat map, a lot of it has been maintained down that left space, I could say, and in their own half. So they have really struggled to get out of their half at times. Now, if we take a look at the passing map at halftime, a lot of passes have been exchanged between 7, 16, and 18, and a few passes between 41 and 43. Now, again, Rasmus Højlund as well as Marcus Rashford have somewhat been isolated, so like I said, we do need to get them a bit more involved. But so far, Onana, the 3 centre-backs or the 2 centre-backs and the right back have also been sufficiently involved in the gameplay, the build-up play, and how we are looking to play with the side and these tactics, of course. Okay, the second half is about to get underway. We are going to go back to our 4-2-3-1 system just to make sure that we are getting a bit more involved in the game and we are protecting ourselves with a solid back 4 unit. We We don't want to, you know, concede or do anything stupid and lose this game. That would be horrendous. That would be absolutely horrendous. So yes, 4-2-3-1 to start off the second half. And Amad Diallo is tracking back beautifully. What can we do here? That's wider right space. They are going to try and exploit Agonai, of course. Of course they are. Double teaming. Double teaming him. Great block from Harry Maguire. Fantastic block from Harry Maguire. Little flick on effort there into Harry Amass, who will look to play a great ball further forward. Is he offside? Look, if you're going to stop the play, you need to book the player at least. What are you doing? My man in Rasmus Højlund, or it could have been Mason Mount, was pretty much in on goal there. Great ball into Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford plays a great ball into Rasmus Højlund, lays it off into Toby Collier, who does find a great bounce pass into Mason Mount, who will look to attack that slightly wider space now. That's, well, Amad Diallo came inside, drew the man with him, opening up a lot of space for this man right here, Mason Money Mount, to get into that space, attack the box, and score the goal. Not too bad, not too shabby. We like to see it. As you'll see here, look at that run from Amad Diallo. He opens up a whole lot of space, causes a whole lot of problems, and Mason Mount knows what to do from then on in. Lenny Yoro, he's up against a man there. Although Harry Amass does a fantastic job, so does Rashford in collecting the ball. Rashford gets bullied off of the ball, although it is deemed as a foul. We will get a free kick here in our own half, in our own, well, yeah, our defensive third. And Casemiro can now look to progress the ball further forward. Looks to work it into Amad Diallo. Amad Diallo, he finds a great ball into Rasmus Højlund, and Rasmus Højlund should do the rest. He's put it low and he's put it hard, and he's put it in the back of the net, most importantly, and it is 3-0 to Man United. Okay, so in the second half, well, yeah, in the second half it's been quite good, but we are going to implement that 3-3-4 press. We are going to look to try and score a few more goals and be a bit more aggressive and imposing towards Real Betis in their backline. Casemiro, who finds a great run of Amad Diallo. Chips it. That could have been special. That could have been amazing. Could have been beautiful. Lenny Yoro, you're not gonna outdo Lenny Yoro for pace, mates. Lenny Yoro closing down the space, closing down the gaps, causes an issue, and it's off the post and into the back of the net. 3-1. Now that is an area that we might be left light. When we don't look after the ball, we will be left light. Of course, it's a pressing structure. You are looking to press nice and high with the team and the ball and all that stuff. Into Harry Amass. Is he onside? Yes, he is. Rashford is onside. Back into Amass. And Amass turns the ball over. Great defense from Yoro. Great passing out. And now we can motor. Now we can look to motor. Højlund is in on goal here thanks to a great pass. Who is this defender? Who was that defender? He just closed down Højlund like he was nothing. Like he was Erling Haaland. He was the Erling Haaland of centre-backs. That was crazy. It should have been 4-1. Although the defender caught up to Rasmus Højlund. But anyways, the game ends in a 3-1 victory for Manchester United. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to smash the like button and all that good stuff. So if we take a look at the full-time stats, we had 100 passes. We only had 52% possession. So that was something I didn't really focus on that much. I wanted to try and get Rashford involved. I wanted to try and get Rasmus Højlund involved. And we did play 1 or 2 wayward passes to try and get those players more involved in the game. Although we also switched to a more aggressive 3-3-4 pressing structure and a more attacking structure, so that can also come into play with it. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed the gameplay. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know down below how you like the tactics. Please, that would be great. That would be appreciated. And until the next one, until the next time, I hope you guys have a goddamn smashing day. I'm out of here. Peace.